Hello, welcome to camp. Today I am excited to share with you some outdoor cooking tips for beginners. So if you're somewhat new to camp cooking, there's a lot of tips in here that are going to help you make the process really enjoyable and simple and fun. I don't want you to go camping and be all stressed about the food, what to pack, and how to cook it. If you've maybe gone camping before and you want to up your camp cooking game, then there's going to be plenty of tips here for you as well. The first tip is to simply plan out and think through your meals at home before you get to camp. There's a lot of reasons that you want to be doing this. One, it's going to help you figure out how much food you need to pack for the duration of your trip, the people that are going, that type of thing. And it will also help you pack for your trip to make sure that you actually bring all of the food and the ingredients that you're going to need. So I have a nice little download to help you do this. This is my camp cooking starter kit. I've talked about this before. This is just a free starter kit you can get, and there's a gear checklist in here. There's some recipes, and there is my camping meal planner, and this is what I use. So this is an example of what it is, and it's really simple. This whole planning the meals thing at home is not complicated. On here I have the days, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and I simply just write down what I'm gonna eat. So for lunch here I have tuna sandwiches, and then in the side I use this as a shopping list or a packing list, and I've written tuna, lettuce, bread, mustard, mayo, that type of thing, so that I can see a nice bird's eye view of how many dinners I need, how many breakfasts I need, and make sure that I pack all the ingredients and the right amounts of food for the trip. Again, this does not need to be a super detailed, elaborate thing unless you want it to be, but simply doing something like this just makes it so much easier when you actually get to camp. So if you're interested in this, check the description box below. Another great thing about planning and thinking through your meals at home is in some cases, you can actually wash and prep parts of meals at home to save yourself a step at camp. And so in this video, I'm gonna actually make some quesadillas with you, and that's exactly what I did. So in my cooler here, I have a little bag, and I chopped the peppers and the onions, and I'm just gonna throw these in my pan and saute it and put these in the quesadilla. So I just did this at home instead of having to take out the cutting board and the knife and do that whole thing here at camp. So this isn't gonna work for obviously every meal, and this type of thing doesn't last forever in the cooler. So you gotta think through when you're gonna eat things and when it makes sense to prep stuff at home. But this is a really simple example of that in action. My next tip is to keep it simple. So this is my really basic camp stove, and when you're just starting out cooking at camp, using your camp stove is really, I think, the easiest way to go. You can just have a cast iron pan or a big pot, and you can cook a lot of meals. So keep it simple. Think one pot meals, one pan meals. In this case, I'm gonna make quesadillas. All I need is my cast iron pan. Super simple. Some other ideas for simple one pot or one pan meals would be ramen, scrambled eggs, pancakes. I have tons of one pot recipes on my blog, like the jambalaya or sloppy joes or tacos. So you can eat really good, delicious food, but also keep it really simple. Now, if you want to get into more campfire cooking, there are also some really easy meals that you can do with the campfire, such as foil packet meals or even just simple grilling, hamburgers and hot dogs. Keep it simple really is key. And today we're gonna do quesadillas. My next tip is to get organized. Organization is going to make or break your camp cooking experience. It is the difference between really enjoying it, having fun around the campfire or the camp stove, sharing meals with friends and family, or being completely frazzled and stressed, running around trying to find things. So the first part of this to unpack is just making sure that your gear and your food are organized and stored well. Don't go camping with like 20 grocery bags of things scattered all over your car and all over the picnic table, that type of thing. I use a camping bin that stores most of my food, and then of course I have the cooler, and then I have a little bin for my camp cooking gear. So keeping everything organized will just make the experience a lot better. My next tip is to think through what you're going to cook before you start cooking. If you are making a particular recipe, let's say you printed one of the recipes off my blog, read the recipe fully before you begin. Read the recipe actually at home before you pack, but then read it at camp before you start cooking so that you can get all of your supplies and all of your ingredients organized before you start cooking. I have not done this in the past, and what happens is I end up being completely frazzled, like, oh, I need a fork and I gotta run over there to get the fork, and then, oh, can you get me this ingredient and it's over there. So don't do that. Just get everything laid out that you're going to need before you start cooking. So that's what I've done here from these quesadillas. Over the camp stove, I'm just gonna cook them in my cast iron pan. Got my few ingredients and I'm organized and ready to go. Next, if it's available, set up a nice workspace for yourself. So this is an awesome big picnic table. I can spread things out and I can stay organized. This is not always the case. Of course, if I'm dispersed camping, I don't have the luxury of this nice big picnic table. But if you do have something like this, make sure you put it to good use. Lastly, on this organization, make sure if you are campfire cooking that you just kind of clear the area around the campfire. Make sure you don't have any tools laying around that you could trip over. Kind of clear away any big rocks or sticks or things that could become a hazard as you're working around the campfire. So again, just thinking about what you're gonna do, where you're gonna cook, and making sure that you have a nice organized place and environment to do that. My next tip is simple, but it is to cook meals that you're already familiar with, or even maybe do a trial run at home. So quesadillas, I've made these so many times, so I'm already kind of familiar with the process and what needs to be done. If you're making a recipe that you can cook on the camp stove, you probably can also cook it on the stove at home and just do a good trial run, so that way when you get out to camp, there's less hiccups and less bumps in the road potentially because you've already sort of done the recipe. So it's a simple tip, but it does make a difference if you're cooking a lot of stuff. Cook stuff you already know. All right, my next tip is to really think about your workspace and make sure that you keep it clean. I know this is kind of obvious, but when you're handling raw meat at camp, that can kind of be tricky because it can be difficult to clean your hands and to clean your workspace well. So this kind of goes back to planning your meals and knowing ahead of time what resources are going to be available at the campground that you're going to. Some campgrounds have running water and it's very easy to clean your hands and your dishes, and it just makes it really easy. If you're dispersed camping, it's going to be a little bit harder, and maybe you want to plan meals that don't have raw meat aspects to them. So it's just something to think about, and again, plan for at home. I do have a separate video. I will link to it in the description box below, which is all about how I clean my dishes at camp, and I walk you through the entire process, so you can check that out if you want info on that. My last tip is probably one of the most important, and it is to be patient, especially when you're dealing with campfire cooking. It takes some time to really get a sense of how hot fire can be and how hot you need something when you're cooking a particular meal, especially with the fire. So just be patient. You know, there's gonna be meals where you kind of just mess things up, or you burn things, or you forget an ingredient. But the more you do it, the more intuitive it becomes, and the easier it becomes. And once you develop a good organization and good systems about how you like to pack and cook, it really is so enjoyable. This is one of my favorite aspects of camping, is sharing meals with friends and family in an undistracted environment. It's just so special, and I have so many memories myself, like from my childhood, of when we would go camping. I hope that this is helpful if you're new to camping or you just want to up your camp cooking skills. Make sure to check some of the additional resources below and subscribe to the channel. I will see you in the next one.